In South Africa, police have been deployed to head off unrest and protest this Tuesday. There you can see the latest live images from there. Today is the unofficial deadline that's been set by citizen-led groups for undocumented foreign nationals to leave the country. Well, that has pushed thousands of people to flee already. Hundreds more have taken refuge in several cities, urgently seeking help to leave. Here's more from some anti-migrant protesters there.
We want to continue and show that there is no problem. South African people are just saying that illegal foreigners must go. Any person with relations with foreigners who are illegal, anyone with relations with foreigners who are illegal in South Africa must go with them.
There's too much corruption, so that shows that this government of ours doesn't care about us, because we are requesting a simple thing, that they must go, but they are failing to go.
Aimée-Noel Mbiyozo is a migration specialist for the Institute of Security Studies in Cape Town and joins me now from there. Aimée-Noel, this ominous deadline from anti-migrant groups is now. What's the feeling like there in South Africa at the moment?
Yeah, it's a really tense time. I don't think that we've seen anything erupt into violence as yet in the streets. So I think some of it was overblown maybe a little bit, but it is a really tense time. Most offices are closed today, and a lot of people are too scared to get on buses or trains to go to work and be out in society.
Well, just give us some context here. Where is all this anti-migrant sentiment coming from?
Yeah, I mean, it's not new to South Africa. So we have had several waves of sort of xenophobic violence that stem back to about 2008. And at the heart of it is a real frustration about, really high unemployment rates, soaring inequalities, stagnant economic growth, and a struggle for some of the public systems to really deliver. And so those are very legitimate grievances, and politicians quite broadly have found quite a bit of success in pinning that on migrants who do comprise a small percentage of the population, but of course have no recourse and can't fight back against these narratives. So the grievances, we would say, are very real. People are struggling. Unemployment is very high, but we've scapegoated the foreigner in this situation.
Right, because if we were to look at the facts, has migration really had an influence on South Africa's socioeconomic problems?
No, I think we can categorically say no. From a factual perspective, we've got about 2.4 million foreigners living in South Africa right now, and that includes documented and undocumented, which hovers around 4 to 5% of the population, which is very on par with what we would call normal migration levels. The global average is 3.6%. And of course, this is a country that has 6 land borders and is one of the economic powerhouses in the region. So it's a very natural and normal feature. But we have disproportionately sort of pinned a lot of the socioeconomic problems on them, and politicians in particular have aptly done that to distract from their own sort of failures to deliver. I mean, we have really high levels of corruption. There's been some gross incompetence throughout certain departments. And it's just, again, very easy and has proven a really winning strategy internationally to blame the other, regardless of, sort of that they make up a small minority of population, and that actually studies have shown that for every foreigner in the country, they create 2 jobs. They pay taxes. There's quite a bit of economic stimulation. They pay rents. They buy all of their goods here. So the perception is that there's a fixed sort of pie of resources and that they are taking from it and not contributing.
So given if that's the case, why isn't that message getting across? I mean, it seems like this anti-migrant sentiment is really being fueled by narratives that, according to what you're saying, are misrepresenting the facts.
Yeah, and I think you can look beyond South Africa for some of the answers to that. I mean, it has really politically been expedient in multiple countries around the world to follow the same trajectory, to overpin problems on a certain group, especially, again, if they don't have any recourse to fight back. And then, of course, and that's very true in multiple parts of South Africa, some more than others. And so there's definitely a political aspect of this. And there is potentially a desire for some political parties to sort of disrupt, and that this has been a narrative that's been able to take off. Yeah, that's what I would say to that.
South
And
African.
also sort of misinformation online. I think also we can't underplay how much online has gone into this.
Absolutely, like in many countries around the world. The South African President Cyril Ramaphosa has acknowledged concerns about migration. He's committed to come up with solutions via what he's called his 5-point plan. I mean, tell us a bit more about that plan and if it'll work.
Yeah, I mean, some aspects are so I would say promising and necessary. I would hone in on the fourth point of the plan, which is that he has admitted there's a lot of corruption within the Ministry of, or the Department of Home Affairs, which handles the immigration profiles. We have backlogs of 19 years for certain applications, and it has been found to be a marketplace for, we had a corruption investigation that found it to be a marketplace for inside and external actors selling permits off. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done to clean that up, and that explains why some of the people in the country are undocumented. I would criticize some of the points in the plan because there is, again, an over-focus on securitization. If you look at the number and sort of enforcing a border, but if you look at the numbers of people who are in the country, most of them come from neighboring countries who are allowed to enter the country for up to 90 days. And so securing a border and really reinforcing it isn't going to do much because those people are allowed to come in anyways. And ultimately, what we need is a visa regime that reflects the reality on the ground. So as of right now, most of the migrants are low or medium skilled from neighboring countries, and there are no legal pathways for them to come in. They're allowed to enter for freely, but the problem is that most overstay and slip into irregularity while looking for work. And we're talking about sort of agriculture, domestic work, informal trading. And as of right now, given that that's a reality, that migration is a reality and at normal levels, and there's no legal pathway for them, they all fall under the banner of what's being called illegal. And I think that it's important to say that then when we're painting everyone with that same brush, now you are enforcing sort of nannies who are from Zimbabwe and who have lived here for 15 years and served the community with the same brush as you are a foreign drug syndicate. And they're all sort of painted with the same brush, and that drains resources away from really fighting those international drug syndicates if you're chasing around people who are just doing menial work.
Aimée-Noel Mbiyozo, thanks so much for taking the time to speak to us. You're a migration specialist for the Institute for Security Studies in Cape Town. Thanks so much. Meanwhile, in Spain, a vast migrant regularization launched by Spain's leftist government in defiance of a growing European crackdown on irregular immigration ends this Tuesday. The final hopefuls are still scrambling, though, to secure their legal status in the country. The scheme was predicted to benefit around 500,000 people, most of them from Latin America, when it began in April. Applicants have to prove a clean criminal record and that they've spent at least 5 consecutive months in Spain before January 1st.